A birth of a fan in any medium is a lot like life. When they're first born, everything is so fresh and new, exciting and stimulating. But as they begin to grow up, everything begins to slowly lose its charm. This looks similar to this is just like this. And we begin to seek new experiences and new ideas to re-experience that feeling that we first got at the beginning of our life. Now, you might be questioning, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, hear me out. There's always that one game, that one anime, that one experience that at one point you became obsessed with. You replayed it multiple times, you've rewatched it multiple times, you've practiced it multiple times. And for me, that experience that I became obsessed with at the start of my anime life was ReZero. ReZero at its core is about a guy who gets transported to another world and has the ability to return to a certain point in time by dying. And something that's always stood out to me is, unlike other stories, this one doesn't have an end goal shown right in front of us. At the start of every journey, the character will usually state their goals at the start of the story, and the story will be driven with that goal in mind. But when our friend Natsuki Subaru gets dropped off, it's quick, random, and unusual. There's no big special summoning, there's no special event or dialogue saying, "Oh, our great hero has finally been summoned." Nah, it's lackluster and it's charming. I remember on my first viewing, I was like, what the fuck? And had to ask a friend if there was a season prior that I'd missed. ReZero is generic with setup, but unique in execution. Now, if there isn't any overarching goal, what is the series trying to accomplish? What type of stories are trying to tell? And now that is the story of constant struggle and self-overcoming. At the start of our story, Natsuki Subaru gets transported to another world, and in generic fashion, just like other isekai shows, he's like, dude, I'm a fucking god! And then he gets jumped by a bunch of hobos and saved by a random girl that he falls in love with. And there he has to solve this problem about a charm that was stolen, yada yada, he dies. Not gonna lie, the first arc on paper isn't that interesting on its own, however it establishes a decent amount of plot points to be later explored, and it also sets the tone and setting beautifully. And the later arcs are essentially the first arc, but the intensity and stakes are scaled up significantly. Now, if the arcs are similar, where does the enjoyment come from? Does it come from watching the main character die in unique and unexpected ways all the time? A little bit. But what really makes the series for me is one crucial compartment that was missing from the first arc, and that is the psyche of Natsuki Subaru. In stories, main characters can serve all types of purposes. Some lead the story, some slightly influence it, some are spectators in their own stories, and some don't even feel like the main characters at all. But in anime, and especially in isekai, the main character is usually the hot shit. They're the up and coming talent, they are the chosen one, they will save the world, and they will always usually be blessed with a power that is unique to them and them alone. And while I would like to say, oh, ReZero is different, it's the best anime to ever come out, it doesn't follow trends, it's... No. Return by Death makes Subaru essentially a time-looping demigod that allows him to change the future to his desired outcome, granted, if he has enough willpower. But what makes it so unique is that it's less of a blessing and more of a curse. Along with that, Subaru isn't just some stoic, unrealistic character. For the first half of season 1, he's kind of a fucking prick. He's selfish, doesn't respect the wishes of those around him, and completely ignores what consequences those around him might face due to his actions. And just like a real person, after fucking up again and again and again, he comes to the conclusion, the problem isn't the world or the people around me, it's me. Subaru dies in some of the worst way humanly possible that I think even Guts would raise an eyebrow or two. He's been cut, beaten, frozen, and eaten all to death, at times by those he would consider his own friends. And at the end of the suffering, instead of him coming out more realistically out of these experiences damaged and hurt, he comes out optimistic and humbled. And for how unrealistic that might be, it's charming. I really enjoy Subaru as a main character. Many might not feel the same, but I really like him and I think he fits his role perfectly. Now, due to the nature of this being a time looping story rather than being a time traveling story has always extremely fascinated me. Because in regular time travel stories, the time traveling is usually a big chunk of time which would give the character ample enough time to figure out what's going on and how to fix it. But with time looping, it's very short and has many limitations on what resources are available within that short period. Subaru isn't time traveling days or weeks before whatever event befalls upon him. It's usually within a span from a week to a couple hours, and these restraints build up a lot of tension. But they also have the added benefit of making every problem have a unique and complex situation, which makes the victory all that more satisfying. It also has the added benefit of having a really easy time developing the cast, which does it beautifully. You really get a chance to see many different sides of characters you wouldn't have been able to see otherwise if this was not a time travel story. Seeing on how they interact with Subaru depending if he fucks up or not is really refreshing and lets us, the audience, know what the likes and dislikes of each character, as well as seeing how some characters might react to stressful situations. It's all very refreshing. A character who you might not have liked at first may grow on you, or on the other hand, characters who you thought weren't too bad show off their true colors if you push the wrong buttons. It's all unique and refreshing. Each character has their own goals and morals from which they follow, and seeing that consistency of their character throughout the time loops makes them feel alive. As for the world building though, it's good enough for me. By all means, it's not perfect, but it's good enough, and especially with how it's progressing and the existence of the EX light novels, I have a strong feeling it's going to get better. So I'm not that really big of a music person. I mean, I listen to music that I actually can't understand, so I don't know if I have much of a basis for judging and rating how good or bad music is. But what I do know is that unique and memorable experiences can be made with the power of music, and this show does an amazing job at amplifying the fuck out of scenes with this music. From the bottom of my heart, this show has made some of the most memorable scenes in anime that I have watched. Moments where I've just stood there staring at my monitor, jaw dropped, in absolute shock, just staring at it for like a good 5 minutes. Listening to it on its own might seem like some generic sad anime music you might find on YouTube, but the show always knows how to play the music at the right time to amplify the intensity of whatever scene it's playing. It really gets you plugged into the scene and lets you feel what Subaru is feeling within that particular scene. It's some good shit, man. Now, I can't talk about ReZero without mentioning two particular episodes that are etched very deep into my mind. So please, if you have not watched the show, please go watch it. It's fucking amazing. Click to this timestamp if you want to skip these spoilers. Now, the two episodes that I am mentioning and want to really talk about are episode 14 and episode 15. These episodes completely changed the way how I see the show. Before, I saw it as a murder mystery of some sort. Subaru dies, he finds out how he dies, and he figures out methods that prevent him from dying. And beforehand, the show was always about him. I keep dying, I keep running into problems, I'm the only one who can fix them. And he ends up developing this mindset where he believes that he is the hot shit, that only he can save Amelia, only he can stop the prejudice against her. Everyone else is his enemy, and the only one that she needs and will ever need is him. And while people like Cruz try to lend him advice, housing, and free training, when she doesn't treat him like the hero he thinks he is, he immediately disregards her as an enemy and takes in all the advice and help she gave him as some tactical attack on him. But once he reaches the mansion, he realizes that everything he thought of himself was wrong and everything everyone around him was telling him was right. So he breaks. He doesn't speak, he doesn't do anything, he just gives up. And while those around him perceive him as is going crazy, he hasn't gone crazy. He's shattered. And while in his shattered state, he slightly still seeks that acknowledgement of being somewhat important, of being a quote-unquote hero. It's not only after a jaw-dropping second death and an episode full of heartfelt confession that really transforms him into a better person. He's still not perfect, but mentally, for him, the new him is starting from zero. ReZero is a show that I hold very close to my heart. I understand the flaws and I understand it's not perfect and it's an isekai and yada yada and there's so many problems with it and there's good parts and bad parts, but I don't care. It's one of the first shows that I became madly obsessed with and rewatched it multiple times. And even after watching a shit ton of anime, I can still come back to this show, rewatch it, and still say, yeah man, this shit slaps.